name's Alex Simpson, and we're here on the Alex Show. And today we have a very special guest, Kameron Smith. How you doing, Cam?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well. Get this show on the road with our very first question. What first sparked your interest in the Titanic story?
It's a lot of different things, man. Like a lot of different things you could say. A lot of things that sparked it. Like the ship. The ship is pretty big. I heard it was one of the biggest ships of all time. It's a lot of things that sparked it. But the thing that sparked me most was how many people that was aboard the ship not knowing how good the ship was, because all they heard was how good it was supposed to be, but they didn't know any facts about the ship.
Did it affect you at all knowing how many people lost their lives? Like, did you show any empathy or sympathy in that?
I
Maybe
mean,
that's why you chose it?
A little. A lot of people lost their lives. A lot of people lost their family members. A lot of people I know. So, yeah, it affected me.
Alright, moving on to our second question. What do you think was the biggest mistake that led to the disaster?
A lot of people said the ship wasn't strong, or maybe it was the captain that was controlling the ship. But one thing I would like to say is, maybe you could say it wasn't strong, but it was the iceberg that was right there. So the iceberg, maybe they didn't see the iceberg and they were trying to avoid it, but they couldn't avoid it because they couldn't turn the ship all the way.
Yeah, and I'd like to add on to what you said about how big the ship was. I really feel like, there's a certain cap that you get to, and that ship was just way too big to move. And I really felt like they really should have experimented with it a little bit more first before taking it on to the ocean with a bunch of people on it. So I felt like that was a very big mistake that they definitely could have improved on and saved a bunch of lives.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Moving on to our third question. Are there lesser known passenger stories that you're really interested in at all?
Yeah. Yes, there is.
Because, everybody knows about, the big Titanic stories that's in the movies, but there's so many more, like, other people with different stories that, me personally, I found very interesting, and I was wondering if you felt the same way.
Yes. So, like, in the movies, it says, like, some people tried to fight and not let other people, because they're worried about their lives.
Exactly.
And me personally, I would be worried about the other person next to me, and we try to make room. But, like, some people in the story said that the people was trying to fight, push you off the boat, not knock you, like, not let you get in for your life to be safe too.
Right. And I feel like that's very inconsiderate. And I like that we have the same mindset of, helping others and trying to get out of there together, instead of being selfish and being selfless and trying to survive by yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Alright, moving on to our next question. Why do you think the Titanic story continues to stay relevant even though it happened so long ago?
I mean, it's a lot you can say about the Titanic. I think the story keeps coming up and becoming relevant because other people have different sides to the stories and how much it affected you and affected you by itself.
I like the input that you had on that. I would like to add on what you said. I think that it just stays so relevant because it's such a big thing that happened in history. And, it's a kind of a lesson, a learning point, because so many people lost their lives because we as a people made a mistake. And I feel like it stays relevant to kind of show, what not to do and
Yes,
what to do in certain situations.
I agree.
Trivia question for you guys.
What year did the Titanic sink?
If you said April 15th, 1912, you would be correct. Great job. I hope you guys liked our trivia, but now we are moving on to our next question. How accurate do you think the movies were based on the actual real life Titanic events?
I would say about maybe 50-50, because in some stories you would have a person that had been told other things by people that were in the Titanic that survived, but there weren't many people that survived in the Titanic.
Yes.
So I would say about 50-50, because sometimes they in movies, in real stories, they just add stuff on to make the movie seem more interesting than what the story really was. But there's a lot of things in the movies that could be true and be compared to the stuff that are in the movies in the real life.
Yeah, I would like to just kind of add on to what you said. A lot of movies, they want the entertainment, they want the,
The views.
the views. They
Yeah.
want to keep the viewers entertained in what they're watching. Exactly like what you said.
Yes,
So
sir.
of course, they're gonna add on stuff. They had a love story going on in the actual Titanic movie, and I feel like you're completely right. They do add stuff on because, you have to keep the viewers entertained and interacted in the movie.
I agree.
Moving on with our next question. What was some of the most interesting facts you learned about the Titanic when we were researching?
Okay, that's a good question, sir. A fact that surprised me most is the Titanic had a nickname. They had a few nicknames. One of the Titanic nicknames was the Unsinkable. But the crazy thing is,
It
sank.
sunk.
Yeah, yeah. I feel you. So, but it just because of its water weight compartment, say Nate thought it was unsinkable, but it sunk.
That just proves that, nothing is guaranteed and you always have to double check, triple check, and all that, because the worst thing that could happen happened in that situation, and many people lost their lives.
Yes, sir.
With our next question today, do you think that the Titanic affect ship safety? And if they did, how?
I mean, sir, is that even a question? Of course it did. The Titanic sunk. I feel like they probably builded ships like stronger than the Titanic was, and the Titanic was a pretty strong ship. They probably built like the walls around it better and like the other stuff. And I heard that they have more more stuff like guards, international coast guards and stuff, and like other people that are around in that water that the Titanic sunk in all waters, like water areas, for like if something like that ever happens again, they would have people around it.
And I have another question for you. Do you think that the Titanic was too big?
I mean, no, not really. They had about 2,200 passengers on it. They lost 700 during when they were sinking. So, no, I don't.
And another question I have for you, just off the fly. Do you think that if the ship was smaller, then, it would have sinked a little bit slower and more people would have survived?
Yes, yeah. I mean, maybe, because you can't really say that. But even if the ship was smaller, it may have maybe got around the iceberg. But the way the iceberg hit the ship, it hit it on its side. It didn't go straight into it. So maybe if it tried to dodge it, because it was smaller, it may have. But no, I don't.
Yeah, because, that question is kind of going off a limb. You would have to have a lot of scientific analysis to really answer that question.
Yes,
But
sir.
I like how you answered that. With our next question, do you think the shipwreck should be explored more? And if you don't, why?
Like the sighting?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah, I do, because maybe it's a lot you could learn from it. Like, I know people in like the past and stuff, and maybe people in the present go down there and like check the ship or see if the ship is still down there, and like just to check it out and see how big it was. So yes.
I like that. We're reaching up to our last question here. It's been an amazing time with my guy Cam. But moving on, if you could interview anybody from the shipwreck, who would it be and why?
Have three people. John Smith. John Smith was the captain of the ship, and the Harlan and the Wolff Company. They built the ship. Because I know that once they built the ship, they probably was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a strong ship, knowing this is going to be a good ship. But then they hit the iceberg and probably didn't think the iceberg would do that much damage to the ship.
Right.
The captain was probably surprised that he didn't see that iceberg, and it scarred him and hit him, and he died on the ship.
That hurts.
Yeah. And the Harlan and the Wolf Company, they built the ship. So they were probably surprised, though we probably didn't build this ship big and maybe not big enough, small enough, or even like heavy enough.
Do you think they held any guilt because of what happened?
Yes, they definitely have some guilt.
Everybody, we're coming up on we are on our last question here today. And that question would be, do you think any lessons from the Titanic still apply for the world today?
Yes, a lot. I would say one, overconfidence. That's a big thing. You can't be overconfident because the Titanic was called unsinkable, meaning it wouldn't sink, but it ended up sinking and it sunk. So yes. Another one is listen to warnings. They got a lot of warnings about the iceberg, but they didn't really. They probably tried to avoid it, but they probably didn't think the iceberg was that big to the point where it would hit them. And then one more thing is, always prepare for the worst.
Sir.
They had 2,200 people on that boat, and they probably had maybe 10 lifeboats to maybe get them all off, and it made a big difference. Then, maybe if they had maybe 20, it would have made a big difference in how many people survived, and many people would survive more.
Thank you for your time, Cam.
Hey, great.
It's been great having you on this show.
Great having you.
And that'll be all for the Alex Show. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. And until next time.